The globalists have taken full control of this country, and we have to speak about them.
So you believe the president is not in charge anymore?
No.
The president is now a puppet?
101%.
Most of these things he's doing is being forced to do them.
Do you think the president does not know these things?
He knows. I'm wondering all the time. I'm like, yo.
He knows. We need to understand that our president has been held captive. We need to understand that this country has been held captive. And we need to understand that it is us as Kenyans that can help ourselves come out of this problem. You know, I'll tell you how the globalists operate. They're very smart. They realize the best way to control countries, you only need to convince one person, and that is the president. So you either convince or you install
President of your own.
Yes, of your own, who will make sure they implement the entire policies to your advantage.
So stuff.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So again, saying Ruto must go is not a solution until we get the right person for the right job. And that's the reality of that. Because you can replace him and get a worse president. I think you allow me to take you back so that we'll come. Because if I speak about vaccination and people don't know where this agenda started from, then it's difficult for people to understand. Now, there's something big that is happening all over the world, and this is not a Kenyan problem, it's a global problem. The only problem is Kenya has been chosen as the prototype for Africa for these implementations. Back then in 1946, immediately after the end of the Second World War, the UN formulated. Actually, that is when the UN was formulated. And on the 13th of February 1946, the UN formulated what we call the UN Charter. And the UN Charter had only one key obligation. And its obligation is to break sovereignties of all countries and build a one world government. And this is not an idea that started today. It's been there for the longest, even before 1946. Great leaders like Stalin, Russia, and Hitler, they also had a similar idea where they will build what we call a one world government, where the whole world is ruled by one structure, one government, one army, one currency, one identity, streamline the whole world to be under one leadership. And that is why they created the UN. At that time, this agenda was spearheaded by a group of cabals called the Group of 300 Men in the name of the Bilderberg Group. These are the bosses of the world. And they said we must actualize this agenda because these are families that have made they own everything in the world. They are the bosses of these states, from the military complex to the pharmaceutical to media to transport and logistics to name it, everything, banking sector, they control everything, to real estate and so on. So they say they are going to do it, but they're going to come with a different approach, and that is through diplomacy and strategy. So this is an idea that started in the 1940s. By 1971, the group regrouped into another group called the World Economic Forum. I'm sure you've heard of World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum is a group now which all these billionaires sit, the billionaires of the world. And they're the people who make decisions on how they will create this agenda of the one world government. So the World Economic Forum was created in 1971 and headed by a German economist called Klaus Schwab. He's the boss of that group. So on approach to about 1991, after the end of the Cold War, remember after the Second World War came the Cold War. So immediately the Cold War went down. That's when now the acceleration took place. And at that time it was being accelerated by a group called the Club of Rome. So actually in 1992, the entire 166 countries in the world met under the UN and declared that the biggest problem in the world is the population problem. And they passed a law to say that we have to find ways on how to depopulate the world. So this is something that started way back. But by the time they are launching this idea and voting in the 166 countries in 1992, from 1972 to 1992, silently, the World Health Organization and the UNFPA, that is the Population Fund, had gotten experts to do a study on vaccinations. So immediately these countries voted, the 166 countries, the same 1992, the UNFPA and the WHO launched what we call the vaccination report. And that's when they came out with these vaccinations to combat population. Here in Kenya, it started in a campaign in what we used to call the tetanus campaign in the 1990s. So what these scientists did at that time, they realized that in the woman reproductive system, the moment a woman is pregnant, there's a chemical, or rather a product created called the HCG hormone. And this hormone is what helps the fetus to grow. So they realized if you can find a way of creating a better HCG or an anti-HCG hormone, something that can fight the HCG, it is definitely going to fight the pregnancy. And those scientists found a way of mixing a tetanus toxoid with that HCG hormone, but in the name of tetanus campaigns. So during the time of Daniel Arap Moi, that was the first time our women here started getting vaccinated, and it was all over the world. But in 1995, the Catholic women of Philippines did a test and realized that majority of the women who are being vaccinated with this tetanus jab are getting complications, losing pregnancies, and becoming infertile. So they went to the international court, and this tetanus vaccine was abolished. But it came back again in the 2013-2014 during Uhuru Kenyatta's time. And here in Kenya, the Catholic doctors had a very big fight with the government because of those vaccines. To an extent that the Catholic doctors took the government to court. But because of government power, it still went on. But there was proof from even independent organizations. There's a company in Kenya called AgriQuest that conducted those tests, and they realized that in all these vials, the tetanus vials or jabs, they found the anti-HCG hormones in them. So this thing has come back again, and in big time in this country. You see, in the World Economic Forum, in the Agenda 2030, or the New World Order, they state clearly that the biggest problem in the world is population. And they say that their target is to reduce the population from 8.5 billion to a maximum of 1 billion. Yes. Go do your research.